this is Christina Within the Garden, and we're gonna do a July garden tour, mostly for our record, but also to show you kind of where we're at in the year. About midway through the summer, I would say that we've got a lot of plants needing to be cut back so they can flush new. So you'll see some of like the Shasta daisies and the yarrow and stuff we've already cut back, and we're still working on some of the summer weeds. But we're gonna start up here by the front of the house. I would like to put these in the ground, but these are North Pole arborvitaes, and they've kind of gotten big for this. Actually, I think, what do you think? They were like right here when we first put them in, and now they're touching the top lights. So if we took them out of this, we could place them on the ground and then they could grow a lot more. So these are our North Pole arborvitaes. This bed over here is a love-hate relationship. It has a ton of weeds in it, and it gets a lot of this creeping Jenny, so we're cleaning it out. But the Gonfrina over here in the pink looks great. We started that from seed. And then the gay feather in the back is kind of dying out. It's like the third or fourth year, and so it's actually losing its luster. Let me get up here. And then I planted here in the back one of these. These are kind of covered by clover, but I planted one of these in the back to kind of take the place of the gay flower, and those will come up here soon. That's that new tree we put up here. Some of the other things we added last year was the phlox, and then these are our bunny tail grasses that turned out really cute, and I think they're supposed to dry out like that, and our heucherella. And then these are new. I planted these last year. They're coneflowers. And back here is where we cut back all the Shasta daisies. And these are our little limelight punch hydrangeas. So in the fall, those will turn pink. And if you come around this way, these are our, Alexandra of Kent roses from David Austin. I put these in to kind of help with the weight of it, but they've grown a lot this year. And then the lavender, if you kind of come around this way, the lavender is to the stage where we would cut it back. So I'm going to walk in here. So this is our lavender hedge. It goes all the way around, and we'll cut it back, and then it'll flush once more before the end of the year. Some of the other things that we have in here are the daylilies that we put in. So those are kind of needing to be cut back as well. Anise hyssop is over here, and then the coneflowers. There's a lot of bees in here. These are now just coming up. These are our zinnias, and then lavender, and these are allium that are spent that we need to take out. And then if you come back in here, these are, gosh, I lost the word for these. I have some planted in the back too, and I can't think of the word, but I'll think of it later. There's the Shasta daisies that we just cut back. I cut these back to the ground, and they're already coming back up. And then these roses are our, let's see, these ones are I'm gonna have to look, but these are David Austin's, and they took about a year to come up. Let's see what variety of this is. These are bushing roses. Yes, this is the Windermere variety, and it's got this really strong, long piece, but it was really tiny to the ground for the longest time. And then this evergreen that I love is a Korean fir, F-I-R, and it has little pine cones on it. It does really well. I just worry about it when it gets too much water. These are hollyhocks. That's the word I forgot. And we've got these hollyhocks and over there, and here's some random zinnias, and then all the sunflowers we didn't plant that are growing. And then there's more random zinnias from last year. And this lavender plant is just not getting enough water. It should be the same size as these. So kind of midsummer items you gotta keep in check. The one thing that I really like when we unearthed all the Shasta daisies was that buddleia. If you take a look at it, this one's a butterfly bush. The variety in the purple in the middle is called a buddleia, And the Shasta daisies were kind of squishing it on this left side, so I think it'll actually get bigger. And we cut that back to the ground every year, so it's pretty cool. This is our weeping. This is our weeping willow. It's a dappled willow, and we just cut it, gave it a haircut, and then cut back some of the limbs. But it's doing really well. We're gonna create a ring around the bottom of the tree so that we can put in, I think I'll put in heuchera. I think that would be good because it's shaded. All right, let's see, we'll go around this way. So the lavender's doing really well. This is the oldest lavender we have, this one right here. And that creeping Jenny just loves to climb in it. And so we're gonna cut all this back, and we'll use all of the lavender for our soaps. And the hostas did really well. We divided those a couple years ago. And then those are the leaves from the peonies that you can leave up or cut back, whichever you prefer. This was really nice in the spring. This is phlox. And this is our pink. It's actually a pink lilac, and I really like it. All of the Shasta daisies right here in the middle got cut back. They were kind of drowning everything. So what I did was I took zinnia seeds and I just sprinkled it all over this area so that we can get zinnias while the Shasta daisies are out of bloom. This is a mini mauvette. This is the bloom that I like the most, is this one. So this is what it looks like when it's first in bloom. It's called a mini mauvette hydrangea. And then when the blooms bloom out and kind of go out of season, they're like this green and brown color, which I think actually looks nice too. So I just leave it on there. Coneflowers again, snapdragons. I put down here at the base some, starts with an E, eucalyptus. This is eucalyptus, and we have a couple varieties of eucalyptus. And everything in here is kind of like smashed together. This is Anise hyssop, snapdragons. There are, let's see, from the spring, ranunculus and anemones. And then there is a daylily in the back. Okay, this is the yellow twig dogwood, and it does really well, but I have to cut it back. And here's some more of that eucalyptus. This is a different variety. That one should be the silver dollar. This one's a different variety, so it's gonna look a little different. And really, I'm just cutting this and using it in arrangements, but it's pretty cool. We have some volunteer sunflowers. And if you come around here, there's more ranunculus and eucalyptus. And these sunflowers just decided to grow from last year. I originally planted a branching sunflower called Vanilla. It's like Vanilla Skies. It's from Epic Gardening. And it came back because these heads fall off and the seeds just sprout back up. This is another David Austin. And this is Princess Alexandra of Kent, I think is the name of it. Zinnias are bunnytail grasses. This is Scabosia, and I really like it. It's like a darker color, and there was like a more vibrant color on the other side. Lupine. Got a weed here. That's lupine, and then you can see the remnants of the Shasta daisies. And then this is the rose we've moved 3 times. And what's interesting about this is this is the abundiflora on top, and then that's whatever root system it was grafted to. Yes, foxglove, thank you. That's foxglove, and we started to cut it back. In here is the lamb's ear and Heliopsis and the lavender, and we'll cut it back as well. And we're right in the thick of weeding season, so like right now, there's weeds all over the place that you can put vinegar on or whatever you think is a good fit for you. And then this tree, I should tell you. So Joe bought me this tree, do you want to say, what was it, 5 years ago? For my birthday, and it was 6 feet tall. And I'm 5 foot something. Do you think it's like 30 feet now? I don't know either. It's tall. 15 feet. Gross exaggeration. But it's done so well, and it creates a lot of shade for the plants around it, so it's very cool. This is a river birch we put in, and then these are Japanese maple, and then that's a blue cedar atlas right here in the front, and I really like this blue cedar atlas. Do you see it? It's so pretty. It's kind of odd because it doesn't have a leader. It kind of has 2 to 3 that span out and come down. All right, let's take you to the back. So these stairs we just put in, I don't know, a couple years ago. And this leads you to the greenhouse. It is really hot. Okay, this is our overflow of onions. The onions started to fall over, so it's time for them to come out. So it's easy, you just grab an onion, you take it out, and you're gonna dry it. We also had a random pumpkin, you can see, that I didn't plant that is in there, and we'll just have to keep that in there. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna move this table around to the back and put all the onions on them on the table so that they'll dry out. And then I'm also gonna slide the pumpkin underneath the table so it's in the shade, so it has a better chance of surviving. These are boxwoods. What are they? Green Mountain. So these Green Mountain boxwoods we've had for a couple years. And then we keep our dwarf peach here and our blueberries. And I've been testing these to like see when they're ready. And they're still pretty firm, but when one falls down, it gets really light. I'm gonna set this here. This is our lemon tree. They look like limes because they're still not ripe. So we've got 1 here and then 2, 3, 4. And this area is our back patio, and it's kind of our overflow plant area sometimes. These are dahlias, and these are Lisianthus that I wintered over. And then I had a random piece of a rose bush. Can you see that right there? It comes out here, and then you might see the new growth here. I put it in the pot maybe 1 winter ago, and it came off of one of the David Austins, and I just put it in there, and it survived. So that'll be another rose bush. All of the, cosmos, we had like apricota and a couple different cosmos. They've all volunteered this year. We've not actually planted any of these. So I've been ripping them out, actually. And then these pink ones are coneflowers, and we have a repeat of that, of white over there. And then our hydrangea, which is doing really good this year. And then we just put this rose in. This is a rose bush, or a shrub rose bush, and it is the Harlow Carr. So Harlow Carr is like a pink petite rose bush. You can kind of see it here. And this will be its first year in the ground, so it just needs some time to catch up. Then I put this little garden bike in here. On the bottom, we have white lavender. This is a pincushion flower, and then carnations. All of those are perennial, so they'll come back every year. This is a sedum that I put in the ground last year. I just put a piece of sedum in the ground, and then basically you just need a tiny piece, and it'll flourish and come right back up. All right, let's go this way. More Lisianthus that I overwintered. Lisianthus is so hard to get to germinate, so I put it in the greenhouse, and I let it grow over the winter, and it was already pretty grown by the time the spring came. Over here, you'll see the volunteer cosmos. Here is the, is it white swan, echinacea? Those are coneflowers. And then these were dahlias that we seeded. I don't know what color they are yet, but when you seed dahlias instead of put in tubers, you don't know what you're gonna get, so you're gonna kind of be surprised. And then if you see this little plant down here, you'll see these all over. This is a pink salvia that we had last year on the patio, and it seeded itself. Here is our sedum. This is our original 2 sedums here, and you'll see throughout the yard I've taken a bunch of these and I've put them in different pots, and they've grown. An example of that is right here. So if you come around this way, this is our celosia at the bottom, our heuchera, and our zinnias. And then this is lobularia. And this is a Persian spire tree, which we moved here and it should be like golden, yellow, and orange in the fall. And then over here is a fig tree it's a hardy fig. And then these are those sedums that we've kind of poked in everywhere in the yard. You'll see a couple of those, and calendula. And then as we're backing out of this area, Joe made this table for me. And these are that French lavender. I've just deadheaded it, so it's actually, this is what they look like. But I just deadheaded it so that it would spring back. Let's go around to the other side. These two lavenders I planted from seed, and these are Bathsheba roses from David Austin, and they're always this like yellowy cream color. Do you want to get closer on this? And they come in these like clusters of roses. So they're this yellow when they first come out, and they kind of go to like a whiter color. And then down here in the front is all of the dahlias that we seeded. So let me give you an idea. So this is a dahlia we seeded. These are dahlias we seeded. So these were not planted by tubes or tubers. This one right here. So when you seed dahlias, and there's totally different color on this side, so pink and yellow, you don't always know what you're going to get because dahlia seeds will come up in different varieties. But if we were to dig these up and plant them again next year as tubes, then they would come up the same color, so you'd know what it was. So let's go on this way, and then we'll go around that way to the garden beds. So all of this here, what's nice about the garden now is that things are reseeding. So you'll see the cosmos we didn't plant, those are reseeding. This is that sedum we poked into different places. I also put a lamium down here, but it's kind of being drowned out. And these are some snapdragons that we seeded at the beginning of the year. And this is heuchera, and I like this a lot. So we put it in a couple of our areas. And normally it wants shade, and you can kind of see it's in shade right now, but when the sun is up in the sky, it's in full sun, and it does okay. These are our cone boxwoods that we've had for quite a few years. I think we put the cone boxwoods in first a couple years ago before we made these beds. This is that rose again, Bathsheba. Here's our heuchera again, Dusty Miller. So the Dusty Miller is here. I cut this to the ground every year. That is actually, it gets really full and robust. You could let it be and be kind of like a large shrub, but I cut it back. And we have some eucalyptus here in the middle, and it's really soft and beautiful, and it's kind of getting bigger. This is our original sedum, and it's flopping over right now because it gets a lot of water. It likes to be drought tolerant, so if you have an area that doesn't get a lot of water, you can put sedum and it'll hold up. This area, Joe and I just cut back all the yarrow. So these two portions here, the yarrow was huge and robust, and it was flopping over because it was at the end of its life cycle for the summer. And so this particular plant was being squished in and wasn't doing well. And the blooms are kind of fading out, but they will bounce back and it'll expand out now that the yarrow's not there. And you can kind of see the yarrow seeded itself up in this area. And so it, again, is very drought tolerant, so it will seed itself and it will grow kind of wherever, kind of like a Shasta daisy. It'll pop up anywhere. So that's what this color right here is from all this yarrow. And if you come around, this is where we put in some of the different succulents. So this is one that we just put in, and these kind of spread and make space themselves. There's one right over here as well, and these are all ones that will kind of climb and vine. So allergy right now. So those will actually climb and vine out, and you want to kind of tuck these into little corners, and they really do a good job. And you can actually see them if you push back. This is the peonies, which you can cut at the end of the year. All right, so we'll go through this next part pretty quick without describing everything. So this is where the yarrow decided to seed itself. So we'll dig it up and put it somewhere else in the yard. These are seeding themselves. So this plant here is Shasta Daisy, and these are Salvia. So you'll kind of see, this is our 4 gardens that we started out with. And these are all our brassicas here and strawberries. Every sunflower was not planted this year. It was actually self-seeded. So if you plant sunflowers, you'll get them every year. And if I come to this side, these are all our original onions. And they've all flopped over, which means we need to pull them. But the bulbs are they're really big. So I'm excited about that. And then you might remember, these are our snap peas. It's perfectly normal for them to kind of phase out. So what you can do is you can cut them. And I already started popping the seeds out and planting more into the holes. Okay. This is another bed. We put sweet potatoes here recently in a video, and they're doing really well. This is a random zinnia, and then sunflowers. So in these 4 beds, I usually grow garlic, onions, potatoes, tomatoes, the snap peas, and then there's dill, self-seeding, pretty much everywhere. So. All right, come around the sunflowers. This is our volunteer maple. It's getting really big. Look how big this is. Got like a 1/4 inch diameter. So this was our self-seeding maple that seeded itself in our raspberry bush. We separated it, put it in here, and of course some sunflowers decided to join it this year. I think what we'll do is put it out in the yard, in a major part of the yard, once it gets big enough. Or Joe and I will put it down in the ground from the pot into the ground right there, possibly. But worried about the roots touching the garage and stuff. So, okay, this hydrangea, I do not know what kind it is. When I bought this and planted it, it was probably a time when I wasn't paying attention to the names of the plants, but I love it because it's a standard hydrangea, and I cut this back every year and it gets a little bigger. And I like it because it's different than any of the other hydrangeas that I have. And the colors are always like a green, and then they go into a white, but they never turn pink, which is interesting. Okay, these are barberry. They get barberry berries on them that are red, and that's pretty cool. This area, which we need to weed, it looks like, is Senorita roses. They're a little faded out, but you can kind of see they're like an orange pink. These are Claire Austin roses from David Austin's line, and Joe put up this wire so that we can kind of get it to go all the way over. So random flower that was up top that decided to join us. But these roses are really pretty. They're, like I said, Claire Austin's. They are yellow climbing roses. They have a really good smell, very floral. This is our raspberry area. So these are red raspberries, yellow raspberries, and more red raspberries. Then behind Joe and kind of going into the patio area, so let's walk that way, Joe. This is 3 or 4 years old, is a magnolia, and the leaves, I think, are the largest they've ever been. And this year it bloomed, but the previous year it did not bloom. So that was interesting. And those are the first things to bloom in the winter coming into the spring. And I really love this. I hope that it gets pretty big and has a huge canopy someday. This is all self-seeded yarrow. So we haven't pulled out the self-seeded version of this yarrow, but we did cut back all the yarrow here. In this area, this was just covered in yarrow, and so was this area with the hosta. These areas were covered in yarrow, and we recently just cut them back. There's a hosta that was kind of being drowned by the yarrow. So back there is all the self-seeded yarrow, and then these beds out here were where we planted yarrow before it self-seeded. This tree is a very cool tree. I always forget the name. Do you remember the name? It has a name tag on it. But the distinctive features of this tree is that it is a very squiggly and kind of different type of branching. And what we like to do is limit up so that the canopy is higher. We did that at the beginning of the year, and as you can see, it's already grown quite a bit. So this bottom area we would clean out. And you gotta remember that this is midsummer, so it's that time of year where we're doing all the cutback. So you'll see some of the cutback we got to, but some of it we didn't. This area is just kind of stuff for our little 3-year-old. These are self-seeded sunflowers, kind of, not really self-seeded. We had a bird feeder here, and it grew a bunch of corn and sunflowers, and we pulled all the corn, and all this left is the sunflowers. This area is all new. We just put this in this year. These evergreens were in pots, but were they on our back porch? I think so. So this evergreen and then the other 3 evergreens were all in pots. We planted them last year, and we've been slowly adding. So I don't remember what, it's like angel's wing, the white kind of soft. It almost looks like lamb's ear, but it's angel wing something. And then we've got different things going on here. We've got coleus. This grass I really like. This is a blue grama grass, and it looks like little, what are they? Grasshoppers. And then we've got snapdragons and anise hyssop. We're gonna keep coming this way. More of this grass. I think that's gonna look really cool in the end. Coleus, snapdragons. There's some daylilies behind that area, and again, the anise hyssop. So Joe just finished this area yesterday. We planted roses up here. This rose is, I want to say Harlow Carr. I believe, I'm not going to get down there. And then this one is Delaney something. Let me look at the tag. So I have English roses all over, Mary Delaney. And the ones that are always by these archways are climbing roses. So when you go this way, it's kind of a repeat of all the bed from back there. So anise hyssop, coleus, sedum, all of that. And we have peonies in here. And then you might notice some of the dahlia seeded plants that we put in here. So here's one, and this orange one is really pretty. This is the only rose bush that's not David Austin, and it's like a tie-dye colored rose bush. It's very cool. We've done videos of that. And then this pine we think is getting too much water, so we cut back the water to see if it'll do better. This plant here is black lace elderberry, and it's really pretty. It has white flowers and looks really nice. And I just planted this year these hollyhocks, which I might stake. Trees, let's see. This tree is a quaking aspen, and we believe that this tree spurred off this tree, and then that one up there, because quaking aspens grow in the forest, and they like to grow up from the root system new trees. And then you might see back here, there's lilacs, and then that river heat birch is in the far back. And then behind the river heat birch is another quaking aspen. So that's kind of the trees on this side. Okay, as we come this way, you might see these 3 trees. These are red point maples. And we put these out, I'm trying to remember all the timelines. I think it's 3 years now. And was it last year? Okay. And they've done really great. This one, was a yellowy color, not orange, when it hit the fall. And so it was a little stressed out, but it's doing so much better. And these are really good shade trees if you're needing a shade tree. And they are easy maintenance so far that we can tell. All right, this is like evergreen corner. So we have this yellow arborvitae, and I want to say they call it like ginkgo arborvitae, but I got that on Fast Growing Trees. This is a Leyland cypress that I bought for 20 bucks at Fred Meyer. This is a, gosh, is this a Austrian pine? I'm trying to remember. Oh, the tag might have just busted off because it got too big. But this one's a pine tree, and then this is a, it's a juniper. And so in here we actually have 4. Now, of course, they were smaller when we put them in, but we're gonna limb them up a little when they get bigger to kind of make space. These are just like the dappled willow tree out front, except for they're not in tree form. So these are Bushine variety, and Joe just cut these back like you would a boxwood. For us, we like that. We're gonna avoid the sprinklers. This is actually, I was thinking this was a different plant the other day, but it's a crepe myrtle, and it's the first year it's blooming, and it smells like lilacs, really. And then we've got the boxwood and this ginkgo tree that I absolutely love because I love the different leaves. All right, these rose bushes. So interestingly enough, I think this one's Lady of Shalott. I can't remember what that one is, but they were supposed to match, and I ended up getting 2 different ones. This one, this Lady of Shalott, is the most fragrant rose we have, and we didn't even order it, so that's pretty cool. Over here is a serviceberry. It has not bloomed. I don't really know what the blooms look like. And then there's a repeat of what we've got. So the boxwood, the dappled willow, then we have the Leyland cypress, then the juniper, and then back around the corner, I'll go tuck in there, and you can see the little Christmas tree, which I partially regret planting over here because I wish we could see it and decorate it. But you can see the back half of this flower garden, and it's kind of like a tree garden. This little Christmas tree is so cute. And this is all the creeping Jenny that grows on everything. And that's our neighbor's backyard. So when you get to this area, this is a corner we just started. This is our viburnum that was in a pot, and it really had a hard time when we first put it in there, but it's doing well. This is that yellow tree. It starts with an F. Forsythia. And then we put some Shasta daisies here, and this is just like the tree in the front. This is the Weeping Alaskan. This is our dogwood that we planted this year for the chicken coop. Here is our chicken coop, and this is just like the pine up front. Let's see what it says. So this is a Pacific blue pine. This is different than that one because that one's not Pacific blue. Weeping Alaskan, and then this is where we transplanted all of our self-seeding Shasta daisies, and I grabbed some of the yarrow and everything else and put that in there. And this is where the back garden is. And I think that we'll end here, but if you want to know like what our property looks like, this will give you a pretty good idea. This is the back of the acre that we own. This is where the shop garden is. This is our herb bed that we feed the chickens from. And then this is all self-seeded green beans that you can already see are coming up. So from here is all of the new chicken coop area, and to the right of me is all of our shop garden beds. We put a lot of raised beds in here from Epic Gardening. This year we put some hoops in there to support the tomatoes, and I planted those pumpkins back in April. And so from here you would go up, and we just showed you those 2 tiers where we had planted new trees and new flowers. And then the 4 raised bed gardens up by the house, and then the 2 beds that are up front. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the entire property. It's a lot of work, so we have to kind of go in stages as far as pulling weeds, cutting back summer crops, and replanting other things. And I would say we spend 4 to 6 hours at least a week in our yard, either mowing, pulling weeds, or fertilizing, or whatever we're doing. And then Joe put this grass in this year, and the grass up there he maintains. So it's a lot of fun for our kids. Behind us is a wine vineyard. Our friend Bob is a wine farmer, grape farmer. And and we just spend a lot of time out here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gives you a view into our yard. And if you should want to see anything or have any questions, please comment below and we will try to answer. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.